Hey, how's it going everyone? In today's video I'll be telling you all about a game that I hold very close to my heart, and I do really think that it's very underrated. I'm talking about Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Senua, as the protagonist of the game, is a very young woman with a troubled life. She also suffers from severe psychosis. She initially finds herself on a personal journey into the depths of Helheim in order to save the soul of her lover, Dillion. The way the game started got me hooked and waiting on a sequel ever since. The game recommends a headset right at the beginning for you to immerse yourself in the action. Senua keeps hearing voices in her head that make her doubt her surroundings. When you're wearing a headset, you share the same feeling with Senua. You feel the voices in your head too. The game even shows the subtitles for the main characters at the bottom of the screen and shows the voices subtitles at the top of the screen to make sure that you know who's talking. Senua's tribe gets attacked by the Northmen and they kill her lover Dillion. Senua's tribe blame this on her existence. They believe that she's the cause of all of this because she's bewitched or a witch. She was just associated with bad luck because of her psychosis. She decides to take the head of her lover and decides to go to Helheim to negotiate something with Hela, the goddess of the underworld. We start playing the game as she sails to an unknown area on a very small boat. The voices start talking to her right from the get-go. The voices keep telling her right from the get-go that she's a coward, she needs to stop, she needs to go back home. Once she arrives to her destination, we are able to see the beauty of the game's design. That's why I think the game is very underrated. Some kind of darkness takes over that forest in the beginning where she just sailed ashore. Senua starts running. We get to take the first looks at the game's mechanics and so on. But then, after a few fights, we get into a fight with a strange creature. That creature kills Senua. This is when the game gets more interesting. Senua wakes up from death with some kind of black mold on her arm. This mold apparently keeps growing more on Senua's body the more you lose and die. Once the mold had consumed enough of Senua's body, the game would just delete our save file, forcing us to restart the whole game from the beginning. This game had the guts to introduce such a mechanic, not worrying about our tiny little emotions and our critique. That's when I actually fell in love with the game. Hellblade isn't well known as a combat-focused game. Senua does, however, battle against a lot of strange creatures that we do not know whether they are real or inside her head. On a small side note, Senua is even more broken not because of her mental illness. It's because of her father's countless attempts to fix Senua. He was a very strong believer in their gods at the time, and believed that she was cursed by those said gods for not truly believing in them. Now Senua keeps on fighting different creatures on her way to Helheim to meet Hela. During these short hours of gameplay, we get to know a lot more about Senua and her tribe. One important detail that we learn almost at the beginning of the game is that Senua's mother had the same illness, but she was so okay with having it, she called it the sight. Senua's mother believed that she was gifted, and this gift allowed her to see and communicate with the dead. Senua's mother always tried to convince Senua that she is gifted as well, but Senua's father never allowed Senua that much time for what her mom said to sink in. He always tried exorcisms and tribal rituals on her to fix her, making the situation worse. Senua's mother died shortly after that, and Senua thought that she committed suicide because of her illness that the villagers called the darkness. But we later learned that it was her father who had the tribe burn her, thinking that he is helping the tribe get rid of some kind of curse. Senua attempted to commit suicide to purge her curse, just as she believed her mother had. Dillion convinced her to spare herself, but she still decided to go into exile in the woods as penance for causing the plague. Senua promised to return to Dillion once she paid her penance as an outcast. Senua's mental health only became worse while she was alone in the wilderness. Eventually, however, she came across a companion. She found Druth, an old man wounded and on death's door in the woods. Senua managed to prolong his life, but he ultimately could not overcome his injuries. However, while Druth and Senua spent time together, he told her stories about Viking myths and legends. Enough about the story for now. Now for what makes the game unique. Hellblade introduced the voices which kept talking to Senua throughout the game. Although they were annoying, they did help understand what the game wanted us to do and where to go. We also had a narrator in the game describing and explaining everything that happened around us as we explored the game. Bear in mind that this narrator is as delusional as Senua. The narrator in the game speaks in riddles most of the times, or if not riddles, the narrator speaks in a way that shouldn't be understood literally. The combat itself was decent, although not the main focus of the game. The camera angles were just perfect. It was a very close third-person camera, something like the new God of War, but done better in my opinion. The film grain applied to the game's visuals was just like a small cherry on top of the cake. Back to the story now. Senua does get to Helheim after defeating a couple of gods to unlock the door before Helheim, and Senua does eventually face Hela. Now if you're really interested in playing the game, I would advise you to go ahead and leave the video because the following part is filled with spoilers. Once she gets to Hela, Hela resurrects every creature Senua had killed on her way to Helheim and orders them to attack Senua. Senua blocks them off at the beginning, but then she submits to Hela when they get the best of her. She then tries to negotiate something with Hela. She offers her lover's head to Hela for her to revive him and take Senua's soul in his place. Senua even offers to be a slave warrior for Hela and help her during Ragnarok. Hela doesn't give any answers, she just sits there looking at Senua. Senua then pulls herself together and gets Hela's point. Hela would have never agreed upon that, so Senua stands up and shouts saying that Hela has no power over her. Hela stabs Senua after that, killing her. Senua starts hearing and seeing her lover one last time before she dies. We're then shown a scene where Hela picks up the head of Senua's lover that she had carried with her, as she thought that his head is the essence of his soul and is needed to revive him. Hela throws the head away. The camera shows us that the head falls down from a very high point to a degree where it disappears. Then shockingly enough, once the camera turns back to Hela, it's not Hela anymore, it's been Senua all along. Senua says her goodbyes to her lover's head shortly after and breaks the fourth wall, telling us to follow her and that she's got more stories to tell. The game ends right there, leaving us desperate for a sequel. Lucky for us though, we're getting a sequel with the name Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga. I honestly cannot wait for this game to release. We only have a few gameplay videos released by the developers and a trailer that was released ages ago. If you haven't played this game, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, please do. You're losing out on a lot already if you've missed it. This is why I think Hellblade is a very underrated game. This game deserves more praise from the gaming community. Now this is it for today's video. I would really love to hear what you think about the game down in the comments section below, whether you played it or not. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, get subscribed for more daily videos about the best of the gaming world, and I'll see you tomorrow with a new one. Enjoy.